What is up, guys? It is Wednesday. It is horror movie review day. This month we're doing things a little bit differently. I know last week I had posted a schedule of when everybody was supposed to be doing their reviews, and the schedule got fucked up. So, in light of that, today we're going to go with my top 5. Now, I know this was really difficult for me to do. This is hard. This is probably the top 5 for me that I watch the most. These aren't there's no way to put just 5. This is hard. I went and looked at the shelf of the staples of the horror movies that I have, and I kept pulling some out. I kept putting some back and then pulling other ones out. And I was like, well, which ones do I watch at least once a year? This is hard. We're going to get started today with me. And then next week, theoretically, will be my wife. We'll see. She said it was very difficult to pick. She's got 3 down so far. And no spoilers. These are in no particular order for me. Because I can't place them. I like all of these movies for different reasons, and other horror hounds I know for a fact completely understand like how impossibly difficult it is to name 5 movies, make you the person you are. I don't know. Anyways, let's get started. The first one we're gonna get started with is Suspiria. I love this movie. This movie was a lot of things for me. The art direction, the lighting, all of this stuff, the music particularly. This is what got me into Italian horror 100%. This movie is beautiful. The kill scenes in it are over the top. They're fabulous. Just beautiful. It's a beautiful movie to me. Everything about it works for me, and it's one of my favorites, like hands down. Suspiria. If you guys have not seen Suspiria, you need to see Suspiria. Let's not talk about the remake because that movie was a dumpster fire. If they had called it Angry Witch Battle or something, this movie is about this American girl going to a European ballerina school, and it's run by a coven of witches. Just watch this version of Suspiria. Watch this movie if you guys haven't seen it. And if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I can't really condense all of these movies. My favorite, hands down, is obviously the first one. It starts the entire series. Nobody talks about the second one, though. That was weird. Was one of the films that generated my particular interest in horror movies. I thought the concept was really unique and interesting. The villain, obviously, everybody knows who Freddy Krueger is, and if you don't, why are you watching this? Oh, there he goes right there. The villain had a very unique look to him. It was based off of a lot of... They wrecked it with the remake, which I have not seen, and I don't intend to. These are my bread and butter, you guys. These, and when Wes passed a couple of years ago, it wrecked me. He was a godfather, you know. I would even consider this to be a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. This movie I probably watch a lot of times in a year because it is amazing. I fucking love Freddy Krueger. I love Freddy Krueger. Bobby England. You can't replace Bobby. Premise of the movie is there are kids that are dying off in this high school pretty horrifically. Well, honestly, in most of the movies. Primarily, everybody is dying in in their bed or, in some sort of sleep state or whatever. But the parents are like, oh yeah, we murdered this dude that was killing kids back in the day, and it's just him. So, if you have not seen Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't know if we can be friends, because Freddy for life. Creature from the Black Lagoon. This was the very first horror movie that I showed my daughter, I think when she's like 3. This movie is not scary at all. This movie has the most amazing and unique, for the time that it was made, this movie was ahead of its game. 100%. The music in this is very ridiculous. The creature in it is one of my absolute favorite movie monsters of all time. Like, hands down. Super good. Super good. The premise, which I am going to explain to you, even though I shouldn't have to, especially if you're watching. Team of scientists go into a very deep region in, I think it's the Amazon. Go into the very deep region of this rainforest because one of them found a fossil. They wind up going and checking out the fossil site, and the guys that they left there, they're all dead. There's not really a whole lot of violence in this movie. It's not scary. I mean, it may have been for the time that it was made, but, it was, 54? If you haven't seen this movie, it might be hard for you to get through because it's black and white. And this movie is a staple for me. It was so much of a staple that I decided I needed to share it with my 2 or 3-year-old daughter after she was born, because I was like, you have to see this movie. And it's totally age appropriate. Some things, bugs scare people. Or ants. Oh man. You guys remember last week? We're going to go with this movie. This movie, John Carpenter's The Thing. This movie is so good. Beautiful piece of cinema. Is astounding. I'm sure this trailer is going to be pretty tame. Everything about this movie is amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. The practical effects in this movie are stunning. Still. And this movie is fucking scary. This movie makes you paranoid, makes you not trust people. I'm talking to you. John Carpenter's The Thing is gorgeous. Gorgeous piece of film. I probably watch this movie like 2 or 3 times a year as well. There's a lot of gross in this movie. There's a lot of what the fuck in this movie. There is a team of scientists in Antarctica, and it's a research station. They've been out there for months and months and months doing, checking out snow. A helicopter comes through from one of the, I believe it's Norwegian, chasing down a dog, and they're shooting at it. Helicopter lands. Sniper is there. Guy tries to throw a grenade. One of the guys from the Americans team shoots the guy that was throwing the grenade, blows up the helicopter. Everybody in it dies. The dog ends up coming back to the base camp with them, and it's not a dog. It looks like a dog. It acts like a dog. It probably smells like a dog. Dogs do smell bad all the time. And they start to figure out that there's this thing that the Norwegians dug up out of the ice that wasn't from this planet. This movie is fucking scary and it's amazing. If you guys haven't seen this movie, you need to go fuck yourself, because I don't know why you're watching this channel if you haven't seen this movie. Like, this is a staple. The only horror comedy that I'm going to mention on this list, because there are so many, and there are so many that are so good. This movie, I grew up with this movie. It started with Army of Darkness, and I mean, you can't, this movie is so phenomenal. Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2. You can't go wrong with Evil Dead 2. I've probably seen this movie 10,000 fucking times in my life because it's so good. I love Bobby Joe! Everything about this movie is brilliant. All of the slapstick, I mean, the hand scene with Bruce Campbell and him fighting himself in the kitchen is stellar. But if you haven't seen this, it's hilarious. This movie is so good and so funny and so very old Sam Raimi. It's perfect. And Bruce Campbell, brilliant, brilliant stuff from him. Everything about this movie is great. There was a lot of gross stuff. There is a lot of, like, ridiculous things. And it led us to get things later on like Army of Darkness and Ash vs. Evil Dead, all of the video games, you know, like all of the comics and pop culture. I love Evil Dead 2 more than I love Evil Dead 1, which was great, and more than I love Army of Darkness, which was also great. This movie started a franchise, and if you guys haven't seen it, you have to. And I'm not even going to bother to explain the plot synopsis to this, because you just need to watch it. That being said, that is it for me this week. Again, we are going to be doing somebody next week, this month, about their favorite or their top 5 something, or their favorite horror movies, more or less. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know, this is a very tough category to kind of select your favorites from, because there's so many subgenres and there's so much going on with this movie and this movie, which is why I had a really hard time picking my 5. These aren't, you know, my 100% all the way, you know, these movies, these 12 movies. No, there's 8 there. 4, 8, 12 movies, one of which I lumped a bunch of them together, are basically the ones that I watch the most. That concludes tonight's horror movie review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a comment down there. I am planning on doing more viewer requests. If you have any questions or anything like that, like right there, just right there. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe. Also, this week's Retro Access Deluxe video over on the other channel. You guys need to watch it because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I know I use that word all the time, but whatever. I will see you guys next week with someone from my family here with me talking about horror movies. It might be the cat. I'll see you guys next week, and I'll see you guys in the future. I love Bobby Joe!